Like there's two Spider-Men, right? And the one Spider-Man is perfect. He's got excellent costume, all the details, he's got good poses and stuff. But this other Spider-Man, he needn't have bothered. This guy's got the top half of a Spider-Man costume and blue sweatpants. What are you doing? There's kids around. No one wants to see depressed Spider-Man who couldn't get it together. He's going through a bad breakup. Well, why should I put on the pants too? Who cares? She's never coming back.
Please welcome back the cast of the Broadway musical Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark.
Hey everyone, Dave here, and it's been a while since I've vlogged about a movie on my own channel instead of just worming my way into a one movie later, but I had some thoughts about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man 2, Too Many Spider-Men. The show billed as the most flying Spider-Man ever assembled.
Some vague, loose, unorganized thoughts that I'm going to share with you. And these thoughts may include spoilers. I mean, I'm not really going to talk about any major plot points, but I don't know, I might mention a joke or something that you'd rather be surprised by, so I don't know, depends on what you consider a spoiler. Better play it safe. Let's just say there's spoilers here. Spoiler man, ruins movies for movie fans. So my overall thoughts, I really loved this movie. It is not only my favorite non-MCU superhero movie since the MCU started, but it's my favorite superhero movie period since Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Oh, and just real quick, let's get the important stats out there. Raimi's Spider-Man 2, still the best Spider-Man movie. Tom Holland in Homecoming, still the best Spider-Man performance. And Lily Tomlin in this movie is the best Aunt May. But of course, referring to Lily Tomlin as the best anything is just redundant, so you already figured that out. But while Spider-Man 2 is basically impossible to top as a superhero action drama and as a character study of Peter Parker as he struggles with the dichotomy of his life, Spider-Verse might be the best superhero movie I've ever seen about what it means to be a superhero and how anyone can be a hero. This is basically a movie about how the Spider-Folk come in all forms. And I'm sure some of the bullies out there are going to decry this movie's unsubtle pro-representation message. Oh, how dare they imply that a hero can come from a marginalized people, or I don't know, whatever the bullies are pretending to care about this week so they can justify their own bigotry. Whatever, this movie's not for the bullies. This movie is for the people who believe that anyone can be Spider-Man. Or for the people who always wanted to believe that anyone can be Spider-Man, but never really thought it could be true. I'm glad all those kids who never believed they could be Spider-Man have a Spider-Man of their own now. And even if their specific Spider-Man didn't appear in this movie, I hope that this movie helped them to realize that there is room for their Spider-Man. Of course, all the different Spideys that do appear in this movie all have precedent in various different comic book lines, and I appreciate that they went the extra mile for that fan service, even if I'm not necessarily the fan who's being serviced there. Yeah, I don't read that many comic books, unless they're based on podcasts or great Netflix revivals of great TV shows. But to all the fans who had been resigned to the fact that the closest they'd ever get to seeing Spider-Ham on the big screen was the Simpsons movie, glad you could be pleasantly surprised. The visual style of the movie was interesting. Took some getting used to. I liked some of the shots a lot, others less so. I mean, it goes without saying that this film did a far better job of incorporating the visual language of comic books than Ang Lee's Hulk. But you know you wouldn't even be attempting that in the first place if William Dozier hadn't paved the way. My biggest issue with the visual style was the way things that were out of focus had like this double vision look to them. For the first 20 minutes or so, I kept second guessing whether or not they were showing us the 3D print by mistake. I loved all the Easter eggs, at least all the ones I noticed, like the Clone High poster. I was told that there were also posters for alternate universe versions of Shaun of the Dead and Oh Hello, but I did not notice them myself. I will keep my eye out for them on my next viewing. My favorite Easter egg was the scene where Aaron, who is the character that Donald Glover played in Homecoming, is watching Community, specifically watching the scene where Donald Glover is wearing Spider-Man pajamas, which was a reference to the Donald for Spidey campaign that partly inspired the creation of Miles Morales in the first place. So that reference is meta on like 4 or 5 different levels, which is really the only appropriate way to reference Community. Spider-Verse might be the closest we're coming to that and a movie now that we're done with our 6 seasons. I'll settle for this. Before Doc Ock was revealed, all I saw when I looked at her was Honey Lemon, and I was really trying to remember if she was one of those Quicksilver Scarlet Witch characters that multiple studios had joint custody of. And yeah, we all knew Stan Lee's cameo was going to be heartbreaking, but we did not know it was going to be this heartbreaking. It was a shockingly appropriate cameo for so soon after his passing. So much so that I'm sure somebody who worked on this film thought, man, we really lucked out, before feeling really, really guilty about that. But in a lot of ways, this movie to me felt like the best encapsulation of the ideals that Stan proclaimed, so I can think of no better movie to say farewell on. I mean, other than the next 12 movies that he already shot cameos for, but, you know. The post-credit scene was great. I was waiting for that reference the entire movie, as I'm sure most of you were, and God, it really had been too long since J. Jonah Jameson made an appearance in a Spider-Man film. All in all, it was amazing to find out that Sony can still make a good Spider-Man movie without Kevin Feige looking over their shoulder. And considering Sony needs to make a new Spider-Man movie every couple of years or so to hold on to the movie rights, I would not complain if all of their non-MCU Spider-Man movies were follow-ups to this one. I want sequels to Spider-Verse where the universes cross over again, and I want separate franchises in each individual universe. Give me a Miles trilogy, a Gwen trilogy, a Noir trilogy, all the trilogies on top of the Spider-Verse trilogy. Sony has unsuccessfully and unsubtly been trying to launch their own Spidey cinematic universe for years. Well, now you have the makings of a Spidey cinematic multiverse. And the MCU can still have its version of Spider-Man too. Everybody wins! Just be sure you learn from the mistakes of Disney's other acquired franchise and don't fire Lord and Miller. And everything will indeed be awesome.
And I will crush that Spider-Man, and then that other Spider-Man, and all the Spider-Man.